Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in this fine world. Hope you are all well in this chaotic time. My guest to my left, your right, would be Mike Holenchek from the Belt Outcast. How are you, sir?
I'm great, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thing. I'm just admiring your AEW tag team belt on your shoulder there.
Well, I always put it upside down every single time. I'm not even joking. I know, yep. It's a little something here, that I found. I found this in the trash, actually. Hacksaw Jim Duggan had it, and he threw it in there. So I took it out. Why he had it, I can't tell you. But
that is a nice looking belt. A lot nicer than some of the ones you see today.
Oh yeah, a little controversial, but that's okay.
So how are you going in this coronavirus world of ours?
Well, let me see. I have water. I have toilet paper. I have Dayquil. So I guess I'm all right. Yeah.
You have what?
I have Dayquil.
Well,
it's cold and flu symptom release, and just in case I need it, I also have NyQuil.
Oh, nice, yes. Yes. I don't think we have that in Australia, but I have heard of NyQuil before.
Yeah, that's the death flavor. That's always good. That's when you know it's working. When you feel like
yeah. So I usually start off with my first question being, how old were you and what started your interest in professional wrestling?
I can answer both those questions exactly. I was 9 years old. The year was 1983. And I knew of wrestling. I knew about it. Some of my friends were in it. I remember somebody bringing a Pro Wrestling Illustrated to school the one day and looking through it and thinking, who are these guys? These Road Warrior guys, who the hell are they? And all kinds of stuff. But the moment that got me was I just happened to be flipping through the Madison Square Garden channel here, which was an old cable channel we had. And they'd have on a lot of sports shows, sometimes some movies, and they would always have every month live from Madison Square Garden WWF events. And I just happened to turn it on, and literally at the beginning of the match, during the introductions of the Magnificent Morocco defending the Intercontinental title against Jimmy Snuka in a steel cage match. And I sat down, I watched it, I'm like, what is this? And at that moment, I was just like, I need more of this in my life. Like as much as possible, and that was it. I was hooked ever since.
Nice. Have you personally had any combat or wrestling experience or training?
No, absolutely not. Unless you consider me pile driving my friends on the pavement, which we do. Fortunately, they all still walk. At least the ones I still know. But I actually considered back in '98 when everybody decided, hey, we were all going to be wrestlers, to actually go to the Wild Samoan School, which is about an hour from here.
Nice.
I actually looked into the package, and I think it was about $4 or $5 grand to do so. And I'm like, I don't have $4 or $5 grand. I'm barely making my car payment. So that was the end of that dream, and that's as far as that went.
Nice. I've thought about going to some of the local schools and getting some training and that, and joining some of them at times. But oh, hang on, I've got a special guest. Do you want to come say hello? You cheeky little monkey.
Hello.
This is my daughter.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Where's Mummy? Where's Mummy?
Where's Mummy?
You go find Mummy.
Where's Mummy?
I don't know.
I don't.
She's going to be some sort of drama actor person, I think, when she grows up. But yeah, I was saying, was thinking of getting some training at times, but time and money just hasn't allowed it, and of course now age is creeping up on me. So.
Yeah, I'm in my 40s, so that's over now. Yeah.
Yeah.
long over.
Now, how did you get involved with these Facebook groups?
Actually, quite by accident. I was a part of a couple online pages, a couple online chats and stuff. Never even thought about Facebook being a place to find this. Because here's the thing: for a long time, I was under the delusion that there's probably only like 10 wrestling belt fans in the entire world who collected them, because that was all my circle was. And when I don't even know actually how I found it, but at some point I found one of the groups, and I was like, oh, there's like 2,000 people in here, and then there's suggestions. Well, let me check this one. There's 800 people in here, and there's that. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what? There's like a whole new world, the Aladdin stuff. What's going off in my mind?
Absolutely, yes. When I was looking at, I can't really remember what started off last year. I was looking at. Oh no, that's what it was. I found a one of the Scratch logo belts someone was selling locally, and I couldn't quite afford it till the next week, so I asked him to hold it, and he said that he would. So it got to the next week, and he disappeared. He wasn't returning any of my messages or whatever. So I thought, all right, well, I've really got the belt itch now. I'll delve into some of the wrestling groups I was on and just sort of get people's opinions on, best things to do. And so in doing that, I got told of some of these belt groups, and then more of these belt groups, and found another Australian guy, Aaron Warwick, I think his name is. I don't know whether you're familiar. He's in a couple of the groups, and he told me about these Pakistani belt makers and which ones he recommended and whatnot, and that led to me getting my Mateen belt and finding you lovely people.
Yeah, and at that point, the sickness kicked in, and now you're stuck for life.
And in doing that, I came across Piers, and we got to talking, and why isn't there any Australian-based group? We should start one, and here we are.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
We just
worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah. We hit 500 members last week and did our 500 member giveaway, which was a NWA television champion made by Joseph Armstrong.
Okay, yep. I know Joe.
And the lucky person that won that was Chris Meesaw.
Mish, I know Mish.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him back on camera again, but he's been a little bit.
Yeah, so we're going strong, and noisy daughter in the background. Whoops.
That's okay.
Children will be children. That button. There we go. Belts. What is your favorite belt of all time?
Just in general, or that I own?
Oh, could be one you don't own, one you want to own.
Okay.
Anything?
Of all time, I'm gonna go with a kind of ugly choice. I do own a version of this. I'm hoping to get a better version at some point in the next year, maybe. I'm gonna go with the WWF Big Green.
The Big Green. Oh, yes.
The Iron Sheik belt, and the one that Hogan won from Sheik. Backlund had it for a little while. Mainly because it's an ugly belt. I'm gonna be perfectly blunt. It's a freaking ugly belt. But that was literally the first championship that I ever saw ever. The first championship that I ever saw. And I was like, wow, to hold one of those or have one of those. And that even started my belt fanaticism even back then. And that will always be my favorite belt of all time, just for a personal reason. Although it is ugly. It really is.
And without missing this question, there's obviously would obviously be a belt that you absolutely dislike. You don't want to own a replica with there.
Let me think. That would be the current. Well, they're not current. They don't use it anymore, I guess now. But the Bray Wyatt Fiend belt. Couldn't stand it.
Oh, the mask one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think that was a bit of a wrong choice.
Well, I mean, I got the idea behind it, but at the same point, I'm like, it's not really a belt, though. It's just a piece of leather with rubber on it. I mean, You know, at least if there was some kind of place. I remember they had a custom Universal made. Bray Wyatt had a custom Universal made with. I remember the strap was really beautiful, and it had like all kinds of like his design elements in of birds and
Yeah.
animals and all kinds of stuff and everything. I thought that would have been a perfect belt for him to come out with. It'd still be a belt, but
Yeah, I suppose they wanted to sort of keep that horror-ish look to it and have that fiend mask. But I think there are ways they could have still done it better. Maybe take one of these championship replicas, beat it up a little bit, and maybe somehow attach another mask to that belt so that you can still see the belt, but then have the mask over it. I think that would have maybe been a little bit.
They could have done an angle where he took the red Universal, and maybe like he said how much he hated it or something, he sets it on fire, and then like after Burns, he looks at it, he's like, "Now you're beautiful. Now you're exactly what I want." And then from there, like you said, put a mask on stuff and have like this burned, chipped, destroyed kind of version of it.
Yeah, I think that would have been better. Belts that I dislike. I don't like the current W logo belts. I think they need to change it, go back to a more classic look. It's just I do like the AEW Championship. I think that's a beautiful looking belt.
It is, and let me tell you something. If you can ever get your hands on a replica, it's worth holding. Trust me, it is.
Now, I have always enjoyed theme music. What is your favorite entrance theme?
Oh, I know that right off the top of my head. Del Brainer. Here comes the axe, and here comes the smasher, the demolition, walking disaster. Pain and destruction is all that remains. Yeah, absolutely demolition.
Oh, you've memorized the lyrics as well. Well done.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if your cats ran away or anything from if you have anything that happens sometimes.
Lovely. What are your thoughts on the current entrance themes that they have?
Some. I don't know, like for instance, actually, I like Bray Wyatt's Fiend theme music. That it's a spin on his old one, but a lot darker feeling and more sinister. I'm gonna say I don't really think they have too many bad themes. I mean, I'm able to, as soon as I hear a theme, I'm able to know who's coming out. I contrast that with WCW back in like the early '90s when every damn theme sounded the same and you didn't know who the hell was coming out. So I mean, they're definitely putting the effort in to make each one have a theme. But I'll tell you who desperately needs a new theme: Roman Reigns, because he's had the same damn theme from the Shield since they debuted.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, give him a bone. They even changed the Miz's up a little bit, not much, but just a little bit.
We have our first comment. Gianni. Hello, Gianni.
Hey, Gianni.
If you want to ask Mike anything in particular, just drop a comment with the question. Drop a question with the comment, what I meant to say. And if anyone else is watching anywhere, please feel free to drop a comment or a question. We'll do our best to show it. Theme songs. I think Jim Johnson was one of the best. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a real shame when they let him go or he quit, or I'm not quite sure the story there, but I think he's one that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
For creating so many iconic themes and just you think of some of the older themes and it's a Jim Johnson theme and he came up with some iconic themes. Of course, Undertaker being one of them. And I always enjoyed as the character changed, so did the theme.
Did you ever hear the unused Undertaker theme? That was like it literally did sound like you were at a funeral because it was so somber and it was so like melancholy. It was the basic theme like the original one, but it just sounded like it was like done on a piano, and it was
I
like
think
so different. Yeah, that was. I'm like, all right, that would have been interesting to hear that.
Double J is the best. Is that in regards to themes, or I'm not sure? Let us know.
Well, now my question is: does Vader? Well, yeah, Vader had a pretty good theme. But
Again,
my question
Jim Johnson.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. My question about the Jeff Jarrett
Double J.
is, do you actually mean like his actual entrance theme, or are we talking about With My Baby Tonight? That's that's why I like that.
I love that Bruce Pritchard and Conrad have sort of brought that back into the public, so to speak, with their podcast and all that they do.
I actually thought he was a pretty good singer until it all turned out to be fake. But I was like, hey, Double J can sing, he can dance.
It had to be Road Dogg, didn't it? I think that's the story.
Yeah, it was. Road Dogg was. Yeah, it was. That's it. To be blunt, it was him. Yeah. Because then for years after him and Jarrett broke up, when he stopped being a roadie, and then he came out as the real Double J, Jesse James. He'd always come out and he'd be singing. He'd be doing karaoke of his theme song. Oh, Jim Johnson.
Definitely, Jim Johnson is the best. A lot of great ideas from him. On the subject of podcasts, do you listen to any wrestling podcasts?
Yeah, I listen to. I'll put myself over mine on the Belt Outcasts every Saturday night. Wink, wink. I have checked out a few of yours, Andrew. Definitely. I've done a bunch of peers. Kevin Rodriguez with the War Room does a good show. There's another one too. Alex Garrett's podcast. I've caught a few of those. I wish I could catch every one, but between work and kids and running around and doing everything, sometimes I miss some, and I do apologize for that. I do try though.
I don't know whether you saw Kevin and Piers and Kingpin live yesterday.
I started watching it, and then I ended up not finishing it. I watched like about 10-15 minutes of it, and then I have to
I'll give them a free plug on here. They announced that they have ideas and they are going to work on bringing out an audio podcast with the three of them to do with some of the darker sides of events in the wrestling business. It'll be touching on things like with the Bruiser Brody incident, and maybe they'll touch on Chris Benoit and Owen. Sort of have a professional wrestler's opinion side of things as well with Kingpin there. So just give them a bit of a plug there. That'll be coming in the future. They're moving big.
Dark. They joined the Dark Order. That's what they do.
What do you think of that Dark Order with Brody Lee being revealed as the what were they calling him? Exalted One or something?
Exalted One. Yeah, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm a little. How can I say it? He came out a little more outgoing than I expected. He came out, he's just like talking like, hey, here I am, I'm going to kick your ass, and hey, you. It's like, okay, I expect him to, I don't know, kind of be maybe a little more non-talkative, if that makes sense, at the beginning. I kind of figured, he'd have his people surround him and you wouldn't really hear. I guess I was expecting him to be the kind of guy that, like, character, I should say, that when he does talk, it's like under extreme circumstances or something's really important, but hey, I know though he's been looking for something like this for a long time, something to actually do the opposite of what I'm saying and actually be able to use his promo skills and do everything unlike what they've been able to do with him in WWE. So I'm definitely wrong there. It's just that's how I kind of figured it would be, probably because I'm so used to him in the WWE and what he was like.
I'll be interested to see him as more of the leader than the follower, because he was the follower of Bray for a number of years, and then the tag team. What were the Bludgeon Brothers, and then a bit of a solo thing, and then he left. It was he's got the talent and the ability there. They just needed to use it better.
Absolutely. Well, I
And
can say that about a lot of guys at WWE at this point. A lot of guys.
and of course Matt Hardy debuting for AEW.
Yep. I know some people are saying it'll be the same old crap like before, and then people get tired of it. I don't know. I mean, he's got a lot to prove now because WWE really dropped the ball on the whole broken, or as they call it, woken gimmick with him. He's kind of, in a way, it's almost like he's got to kind of not reinvent and not bring it back, but kind of reintroduce it to the world because it's been so long since we've really seen it in use and really done properly. So he has a whole new audience now to go with. I think he'll do great things with it. I really do.
And of course, doing that on a show with no actual live crowd, being the time of the coronavirus and that. What are your thoughts on these companies continuing with no crowd? Do you think they should postpone and wait for the virus to cease, or do you think they're right to have these no audience shows?
Well, I remember multiple times over literally decades hearing about people saying there should be a wrestling off season. Give the guys and the women a chance to take a break, to heal, to get to be with their families. And I'm thinking, is there a better time? I mean, obviously we're set for WrestleMania. We know that's going to happen now. All right, so I'm thinking to myself, well, we'll let WrestleMania happen. You know what? Take the next 2 months off. Let everybody go home. Let everybody take care of what they need to take care of. And you know what? People might be more interested to see what's going on when you come back.
Yeah.
And then what they are now. And because it'll be a new, fresh, not a new, fresh thing, but it will seem like a new, fresh thing when you come back.
Yeah. And, all the issues they've had with rewriting shows at the last minute, you hear reports of that. And I think they need to just sort of step back and maybe plan out some of these storylines a little bit better in the time off and come back and maybe go back to the times of planning a year or so in advance and that sort of thing. I think that would benefit in this era.
Here's what Vince will do. Here's my opinion. Here's what should happen. You have WrestleMania, those 2 nights, okay. Monday Night Raw, you have the episode, but it's not really an episode. What you do is you have Vince come out by himself in the middle of the ring. He thanks everybody for all their support over the decades. He thanks everybody, all the performers. So he thanks the world basically for all they've done to help make WWE what it is. He says during these times, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of our families. We need to put the interests of people first before ourselves and before the product. So tonight will be a best of show, a 3-hour best of WWE show, and with various matches and stuff. And he said, from this point forward, we're on hiatus for at least the next 2 months. And sweeten the deal for people to make it better. All subscribers to the WWE Network will have it free for those 2 months, so they can continue to watch their memories and watch what we've been able to do over the decades, and the entertainment we'll be able to bring you, in the comfort and safety of their own home.
Yeah. I just thought of something. They could also, with the network, if they have the time off, if any of the wrestlers want to do a, like what we're doing, get on live and do a talk show thing with another wrestler or something, I think that'd be an interesting concept to put on the network. Just sort of have another option.
Yeah, I mean, they have those smoking skull sessions like every now and then. Make it a weekly thing. Make it a weekly thing, and just have Austin do, like I said, not physically have the person there in his place, but just a podcast like this, talk to them.
There's many things they can look at doing, and hopefully they take some time off and let some of these guys recover and recuperate.
Well, as somebody said, a wrestler fell and died in the ring, and Vince wouldn't stop the show. So he sure as hell ain't going to stop WrestleMania for a virus. I can't imagine him doing it.
Can you imagine how many people are going to subscribe to the network just to see what they do for this WrestleMania? being a non-social WrestleMania, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess if you heard the news of what they're doing this week involving that.
No, I haven't.
Okay, last night they taped this week's Raw. Or no, excuse me. They taped this week's SmackDown and next week's SmackDown. Tonight, they're at the Performance Center. They're taping this week's NXT and next week's NXT. Tomorrow night, they're taping back-to-back. And boy, I mean, I actually pity the wrestlers in this respect. I mean, you have like 5 hours you'll be doing shows, but they're taping this week's Raw and next week's Raw. And Wednesday and Thursday this week, they're taping both nights of WrestleMania. WrestleMania will be taped this year, will not be live.
Wow.
Yeah, and the reason that supposedly they're doing this is because they're afraid that by the time they get to that weekend, that they might be told they can't do anything, period. That they're just, that at that point, they can only have 10 people in a place at the same time or something like that. So they'll have it done, locked in, finished, and they can just show it then, and they don't have to worry.
It's going to be a weird WrestleMania this year.
It will, yeah. I even heard, again, this big rumor, just complete rumor, not probably no truth in this whatsoever, that they were looking to do something similar to what AEW did this past week and see if they could get a small audience of like vetted people, of like maybe some Hall of Famers and maybe Cena's current girlfriend or there's somebody like people like that in the audience and just like have a small audience that way, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Yes, I think with Austin on the past week of Raw, that was just weird having Austin out there and playing to a crowd that wasn't there.
I know it was. I'll give, for me, I feel like SmackDown at this point has been the better show in regards to this situation because they've been having fun with, not that there's fun to have, but they've been doing their best to have fun with the situation. And, I can remember there was a run-in in the one match and Triple H on commentary saying stuff, boy, he blended right in with the crowd. He fit right in. Nobody saw him coming, no crowd there, they're just having some fun. Raw seemed very stale and very monotone or something like in respect.
But I think
I'm sorry.
In these times, you need to have a laugh. You need to, have a chuckle, light-hearted moments. You can't always be serious and panicking. And it's bizarre all over the place.
Yeah, bizarre world is what we're in right now. No, seriously, just think. 2 months ago, everything was running as great as normal as can be. Now look where we are 2 months later.
Yes, I said to a couple of people, I said, if I told you October, November last year that we'd get to mid-March and the world would be panicking, we'd be locking down and toilet paper would be unavailable and all that virus stuff, would you believe me? The answer is no, you wouldn't have.
No,
it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did. I'm almost afraid of what 2 months from now is going to look like, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, you can't worry about what hasn't happened yet.
No, that's true.
No good stressing over what you don't know. Stress doesn't do you any good. I know all about that. If you could book a match between a current wrestler and a wrestler from the past, who would it be and how would you book it?
Let me think. Okay, I'm. Most people would like a high flying, super technical match, that kind of stuff. I with great wrestling, I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna throw in there. I'd love to see in both their primes, mind you now, Brock Lesnar versus Hulk Hogan. Now we've had this before in 2002, but at that point Brock Lesnar was a rookie, and Hogan was, nearing. He was in the twilight of his career. I'm talking like 1987 Hogan versus like 2014 Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Yeah. That's a very good idea. Yeah.
Both literally in their prime and the biggest part of their influence of their careers.
I think I would like to see Let me see. Someone in the past. If I could see somebody wrestle again, it would be Eddie Guerrero versus. I think it would be good to match Eddie. I don't know.
Can I throw a suggestion out there for you, maybe?
Go for it.
Okay, I was how about Eddie Guerrero versus AJ Styles?
Oh yeah, that could be very similar match. Maybe Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that would be a great one too. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Did you catch the first episode of the season 2 Dark Side of the Ring?
I did. Yeah, sorry, I should tell you what, the first 45 minutes we were given or whatever it was. Yeah, I did. Yes. I was surprised actually at how much of the timeline they covered. I kind of figured I didn't expect them to end it like at the tragedy. I figured they would save that for the second. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about in the second part, but I didn't. I was actually surprised how much of that. I don't want to call it a like there was two main themes in the show, but I was surprised at how much Eddie Guerrero dominated that show and what happened with him.
Well, I suppose if you look at it, Eddie's death caused Chris to go into that slow downward spiral. So, in order to cover the Benoit tragedy, you had to cover Eddie and how close those guys were, and their career together, and it made a lot more sense rather than just shoving the Chris Benoit out there and having a brief mention of Eddie or something like that.
But I mean, there was a lot of details I didn't know about. Like I didn't know that they had got to know each other in Japan and they hated each other at first, and then they grew to be friends. I didn't know that Eddie was, basically witnessed to Chris, and they gave him his first Bible and all that stuff. I didn't know that like they were that Vicky and Nancy Benoit were that close. Vicky Guerrero and Nancy Benoit were that close to each other. Like these were all new revelations to me. But I could definitely. I mean, a lot of people have said over the years that Chris was never the same after Eddie died, but I didn't realize just how much he wasn't, just like how badly he was different. How badly it affected him.
He seems like a very strict individual on himself. With Chris Jericho saying how he botched the move, and then he gave himself 500 squats or something as a punishment.
Yep, it was a spinning kick, and I guess Benoit didn't think it went close enough to his face, so he felt he wasn't in place. And Jericho was like, who cares? It wasn't on TV. It was only in front of a handful of fans. Nobody even caught it. Nobody saw it. Don't worry about it. He just he couldn't deal with it. He had to basically punish himself for that.
Definitely a tragedy in both Eddie and Chris.
Yeah.
Eddie would
talk to me to this day. Eddie's the one. If I could, somebody asked me one time, and this is kind of an unfair, loaded question, but if I could somehow bring back one wrestler who has passed away, bring them back, like in their prime, and have them like be alive again and wrestle again, who would it be? And I said it would be Eddie Guerrero, because that one was just like, wow. I mean, they were all tragedies, but it's like, wow.
He got his life back on track. He'd come to find the Lord.
Yeah.
He had many, many more years of greatness in him, I think. It's a shame that he left us too soon.
Oh, yeah. They were priding him to be the world champion on, I guess at that point it would have been SmackDown. They were getting ready to do that and everything and all this stuff.
Absolutely. It was a shame. And the Eddie tribute show, seeing Benoit give his speech to the camera in tears, and that was something I never thought I'd see Chris Benoit bawling like that. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, for a guy who was always stoic and just not unreadable, but definitely didn't like to show his emotions in public. Yeah, that was just we just couldn't hold it in.
Definitely. What other questions can I ask here? Hall of Fame. what's going on with the Hall of Fame? Are they still doing that, or are they?
No, the last thing I heard was that it's postponed, and they're tentatively looking at SummerSlam weekend to do it now.
Okay. What are your opinions on the inductees so far?
JBL, I feel definitely deserves it. I mean, he's had a hell of a career for decades. Held almost every major WWF/WWE championship there was. Has been the main event on multiple shows. I mean, yeah, I definitely feel he deserves it. Let me think here. Who else was going in? British Bulldog, definitely, 100%. He deserved to be in years ago, and
Yeah.
definitely needs it. Definitely needed that, and to be a Hall of Fame, you need the British Bulldog in there. I'm sorry, you do. I'm trying to think who else was going in because I've kind of forgot it in all this mess.
NWO?
Okay. Again, yeah, but my question is did they say which version of the NWO it's going to be? Or are we going to have all 64 members come up or still around come up on stage at the same time?
I think it was like Hall, Nash, Hogan. There was somebody else, I think.
Waltman, maybe?
Might have been him, yeah.
Okay. That's kind of interesting because I'm thinking that they should also have Big Show, aka the Giant, and Ted DiBiase too, because they were all there together at the same time.
Yeah, and Bischoff, I think, should be.
Yeah, definitely Bischoff. Let's see. I'm trying to think who else.
The Bellas.
I'm sorry, who?
The Bellas.
Oh, the
Mickey and Bray.
Well, I'm not gonna say. I mean, they both were Divas champions. I think didn't Nikki have the record for the longest reigning Divas championship reign? I think so. But I don't know if I consider him Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with that right now. I think maybe a few years down the line, possibly, but not right now, considering they both basically just retired in the last 2 or 3 years or something.
Yeah, I think it's a bit soon for them. I mean, they probably deserve it, but it's a bit soon. I'm sure there are many others you could put in. And leads me to my question: who would you like to see in the Hall of Fame?
I actually have a couple answers for this, if it's okay.
Go for it.
Okay, first, number one absolutely has to be, again, Demolition. 3-time WWF Tag Team Champions. They were as big of a draw in late '89 and '90 as Hogan was. They were so big of a draw that Hogan was actually specifically asking to be put in 6-man tags with them, so that he, not that he needed the rub, but to keep, to get the rub, or even though he didn't need it. And it's a shame they probably won't go in for a long time because they were part of that concussion lawsuit, but I kind of hope that gets taken care of. Celebrity Wing, I truly cannot believe that, of all people, Cyndi Lauper is not in there.
Isn't she?
No, she is not, considering all she's done, all she did to help wrestling in the 80s and managing Wendy Richter, and, the Rock and Wrestling Connection wouldn't have been anything without her to begin with. And how she's not in, I don't know, unless she doesn't want it. I mean, I can't believe that they wouldn't have offered her. Wouldn't have offered her.
The Rock is in, isn't he? He's in the Hall of Fame.
No, actually not. No, yeah, no. He inducted his father, Rocky Johnson, the one year. So maybe that's what you think. Because there was a period of time, that was during the period of time when he was gone from WWE for a long time, and he came back to do that. I'm thinking, obviously, I think the biggest one has to be Owen Hart. We definitely need Owen Hart in there.
Someone thinks you should be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm in my own Hall of Fame. It's called the it's called the Bully Hall of Fame. That's one. But Owen Hart 100% absolutely has to be in there.
Yeah, I think that whole Owen thing is a tragedy in itself, and I can understand where is it Martha, his wife? Martha, yeah. I think her name is.
Yeah, she won't.
I can understand her point of view, but on the other hand, I can understand the wrestling point of view as well.
The issue is I don't begrudge her feelings for WWE at all and her culpability in her husband's death. I 100% get that. But I'm not saying you should let bygones be bygones or you should, forgive them. I'm not saying you have to forgive Vince or forgive Russo or forgive anybody who was involved in that. But from a perspective of not erasing Owen's legacy, but making sure his legacy is cemented at this point. I mean, we're 20 years past, and there are people who don't really know about Owen Hart and don't know anything about Owen Hart. And I'm thinking, in that respect, I mean, if she wouldn't even feel comfortable, nobody would begrudge her if she doesn't come out on stage for it or go to the ceremony or anything. But I'm sure Brett would be more than willing to induct him and accept on his behalf or whatever. But, I mean, I really think at least I'm not saying sign a merchandise deal with WWE. I'm not saying you have to have the Owen Hart t-shirts and now the Owen Hart figures and Owen Hart being the video game stuff. But if you just at least give him that so he gets posthumously the honor that he deserves, I think for his career and for what he contributed to wrestling, I think that would be one thing, that I think would be good.
Nation of Domination needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, I think they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. But again, I asked the question, are we going to have all 14 members of the Nation of Domination or just one version of the group?
Yeah.
Because listen, I want to see JC Ice and Wolfie D in that Hall of Fame, man. That's one of my that's a bucket list thing there. I want them to come out and start singing the song too.
I'd like to see the Rock and Sock connection in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we know for a fact the Rock's going to go in someday. It's just a matter of when. That's a guarantee. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see them being in. They were former tag team champions too, so they definitely have the pedigree. Not to mention just the pedigree on their own of both of them.
And of course, my number one pick every year, The Undertaker.
Oh yeah. Well, that's coming through. I mean, there's that,
the last few years it seemed to be, is he going in this year? Is he going in this year? He's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going and going and going.
It's funny because a couple of weeks ago I was watching WrestleMania 27 and I put up a question on my page. I said, I remember this again, WrestleMania 27, when you figure it was 9 years ago. I remember when they did the whole thing where the Undertaker was so beaten up and so depleted from their match that they had to have the card come out. And they, for the first and only time ever in wrestling history, they put the Undertaker on the card and had him driven out of the arena and stuff. I said at that point we were all figuring it was just about done for him, because if they're playing that angle up on camera, they're basically saying how old and beaten up he is. It won't be much longer. 9 years later, he's still going. I mean, the hell, man.
But that shows his loyalty to Vince, and of course, I'm sure the money helps with the decision as well.
Oh yeah, well, he said, did you watch his the Smoking
Skull sessions? Yes.
When he said he did plan to be done after WrestleMania 33 when he lost to Roman Reigns and he put the coat and the hat and everything, and Vince came back with that money and said, "Hey, come on, I need you."
Yeah, he's. Do you think that's damaged the legacy of the Undertaker, or?
In some ways, actually, yes. Just because, I mean, I'm not going to call him a parody of what he was, but I mean, obviously, we all know he can't go like he used to do, and I mean, it's just age; it just happens. But at this point, when I've seen people and I've had kids that I've been in the presence of say stuff like, is that somebody's grandfather in the ring? That's not a good, that's not a good thing. I'm sorry. He really should have just stayed away after WrestleMania 33. I'm not saying he couldn't make an appearance now and then, like to promote something or, have a big moment or something, or hey, just come out once a year, twice a year and chokeslam somebody and then go away. I'm fine with that. But, just constant match after match, and the Saudi shows now, they basically won him at every one. So he's getting paid millions of dollars to wrestle every time they're there. I mean,
and that match with Goldberg over there, that was abysmal.
Yeah, how nobody died is or is crippled is amazing. It's amazing how that went about. But wow.
Oh, definitely, definitely. What else here? It's about all of my questions. You got anything in particular you want to talk about, or?
I did want to throw a little thing out there. I don't know everything that's going on in the world today, and obviously there's been a lot of issues as far as things being closed down and things happening and stuff. We've been in talk, a lot of us, with like a lot of the belt makers over there to find out what's going on and see if there's any issues. And I mean, this is small time compared to what's actually going on in the world, but I know there are people who still have outstanding belt orders. I know there are people waiting on belts, and there are people, and let's be blunt, if it's a thing that brings a little joy in somebody's world, for a day or two, considering everything's going on, hey, I'm all for that. And there is, so far at least, there's no, because there's been a lot of rumors going around and a lot of things being talked about. As of now, there are still no issues with any belts getting out for anybody. People's belts are being shipped on a daily basis at this point. They're moving, they're physically getting to their locations. So the supply chain is still there, because I know there's been rumors that Pakistan was locked down and nothing was shipping out of there, nothing, period. So it's not true. They are still shipping belts out. So if there's anybody waiting for a belt, you're going to get it.
Absolutely. We've got a comment here regarding the Hall of Fame. What about Virgil? Well, just kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean, no. I'm going to say no. Well, maybe I shouldn't say, because if you can, nothing personal against Coco Beware, but they put Coco Beware in. So Virgil had a little more of a high profile run in 1991 than Coco did in some of his incarnations. So I don't know, maybe, but he'd have to be like the first guy out, like the curtain jerkers, they say, inductee.
Absolutely. Well, we might end it there, Mike. Thank you for joining me. Anything last words before I close off?
Yes, support AEW Dynamite.
Support all the guys, especially in this time.
But especially support AEW. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love AEW. What can I say?
Yeah, AEW, support the local indie guys if they're still doing shows. I know a lot of the ones around me have postponed naturally.
Yeah, there's nothing around here. And I saw Dr. Tom Pritchard, if you remember him. I guess he runs his own promotion. He posted today that they're done for the moment too. So yeah,
Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe, stay calm, be kind to one another. A little kindness goes a long, long way at some point. So, especially in this day and age. So, take care and see you next week. Thank you for joining me, Mike.
Thank you for having me, sir. It was an honor.
See you later.